This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined as always by Abel Sanchez. We're here in Las Vegas, Nevada, ahead of Tyson Fury's bout with Tom Schwarz. How you doing, Abel?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. How are you finding Las Vegas?
You know, it's hot. Wow, it's summertime here. It's very hot. We arrived yesterday, Wednesday night, and it wasn't as hot at night, but this morning when we got out and walked a little bit, it's got to be 110 out there.
How does that affect preparation? I mean, you're obviously famous for being in Big Bear. I mean, it's altitude. How is it different kind of preparing a fighter from there and then coming to Nevada?
Well, once you get to Nevada, you better be ready. If you're not ready, then you shouldn't be here. We usually come 4 or 5 days before the fight, so the preparation's already been done. Now we just have to maintain, in this case I have a heavyweight, so it's not maintain the diet, but the focus and make sure that we're not outside doing too much in the heat. The hotels normally are cool, and the walk to the arena is going to be cool, so it's not that much different, as long as we don't have to be outside too much.
So you're here with Guido Vianello, somebody who we've heard a lot about. We haven't seen an awful lot of him as a professional at the minute. What can fans expect to see from Guido when he boxes on Saturday night?
Well, he's a work in progress. This will be his 4th fight. Top Rank is probably one of the premier builders of careers. So they're putting us in front of guys that are going to give us the issues that we need to encounter at this stage of a career, and hopefully Vianello's done enough in the gym, and we've done enough in the gym to be able to handle those guys that they're putting in front of us. But the key here is to make sure that we're developing, so that as we go on 10, 11, 12, 14, 15 fights, that we're learning along the way, and that we're going to be ready for the elite guys.
Guido is somebody who's, as you mentioned, this is his 4th professional fight, but we know him, or we know of him from some of the elite sparring that he's had up in Big Bear. How important is it for a fighter to have that kind of work in the gym at such an early stage of their professional career?
Well, every coach is different. I believe that it's important, but important to a point. I don't want to just spar him with big names and hard sparring, because then we don't have a chance to learn. I want to expose him to those guys, let's just say 1 out of 10 rounds or 1 out of 15 rounds. Maybe he can spar with a known guy that is going to kind of show him what he has to look forward to. But before that, you have to make sure that he's in there with somebody that he can work with, that is throwing punches back at him with bad intentions, so that he can either slip, counter, do his own thing. If he spars against the best guys, then those guys are not going to really work, because they're trying to help him, as in Tyson Fury. I brought him up here for 3 days to spar with Tyson Fury about a month ago. And Tyson is a consummate professional. He went in there and they sparred 4 rounds one day, 4, and then 6 the last day, and he helped him out. He helped him out in a way that he's not trying to knock him out. He's trying to make him work and hitting him with shots, but making sure that he understands why he's hitting him.
You mentioned Tyson Fury there, obviously one of the names that we all know Guido Vianello has shared the ring with. He makes his Las Vegas debut this weekend against Tom Schwarz. You've seen him up close in the gym for his last couple of camps. How good is Tyson Fury in your opinion?
How good is Tyson Fury? Oh, Tyson Fury is exceptional. He's the best heavyweight in the world right now. He is not only a big man with great mobility, but he's a very smart fighter inside the ring. The unfortunate thing for me, and I've said it to him, is that he likes to clown too much in there. He's got to get his job done, and if he was focused 100%, maybe he wouldn't be the fighter he is, because he likes to have fun inside the ring. But he's exceptional. I'm so surprised to see him up close and see the things that he can do.
You mentioned that kind of clowning around style. He's making his Las Vegas debut, his first fight under the ESPN Top Rank banner. You're somebody who is not gung-ho, but you like an attacking fighter, you like an exciting style of fighter. How important is it for Tyson to not only just beat Tom Schwarz this weekend, but look good in doing so?
It's extremely important. They're trying to build up a rematch with Deontay, and if he looks good, then I'm sure that the rematch will be sooner than later. But it's important for every fighter to look good going out. I'm sure that Schwarz, watching Andy Ruiz beat Joshua, has his thoughts of upsetting the apple cart, but it's going to be difficult against a guy like Tyson Fury, because he's like a chameleon. He's got so many different ways to attack you and so many different ways to do things that it's going to be difficult for Schwarz on Saturday night.
Now you mentioned the Anthony Joshua-Andy Ruiz fight. Huge shock in the heavyweight division a couple of weeks ago in New York. Just your thoughts on the fight?
I'm not going to say that I was not surprised. I was surprised a little bit because I've trained Andy Ruiz for the Joseph Parker fight. I know that he has the skills. I know that he has the talent. I know that he had a very good amateur career. So the possibilities was there. And it just so happened, in my opinion, that I think that Anthony Joshua didn't see that. I think he saw a short, portly man that didn't look in shape. But Andy's got great hand speed. Andy's got a great chin. And Andy, in this particular fight, had a chip on his shoulder. When I had him against Joseph Parker, we just didn't do enough to really beat Parker. I thought we won anyway, but we didn't win in a fashion where if you fight in somebody's town or somebody's country, you have to win convincingly, and we didn't do that. In this fight, he wasn't going to be denied. I talked to Manny about a month before the fight, his coach, and I talked to Andy's dad about a couple weeks before the fight, and Andy had a different attitude for this fight. He wasn't going to be denied, and he was going to go out there and prove to the world that he was more than what he looks like on the outside.
Now, you mentioned that. It's a very interesting point you made of Anthony Joshua essentially potentially overlooking Andy Ruiz. Do you feel like that was the key factor in the fight? Potentially didn't look at Andy Ruiz as too much of a threat, or were there other deficiencies that you saw in Joshua's performance?
As I like to see all fighters be as popular as Anthony is in the UK and be as successful financially as Anthony is in the UK, the thing that got him there was stepping through the ropes and into the ring against an opponent on the other side. So if you don't make that your number one priority, and everything else starts to become priority instead of being a movie star, being a TV star, doing all those appearances, overshadows your number one job, which is to step through the ropes and into the ring. Because the guy on the other side wants to win. He wants what you have. And I think that for Anthony, I think that was some of the case or some of the reason why this fight didn't go as planned for him.
A lot of talk about a potential rematch. I think the general consensus is that's the most likely fight to happen for both men next. Would you advise, in your position, if you were, I know you're a trainer and a coach, from a trainer's perspective, would you advise Anthony Joshua to go straight into a rematch of Andy Ruiz based on what we saw?
I think that Anthony needs to get back what he lost. Not necessarily the belts, but just what he lost in shine, in credibility, in all the things that he amassed prior to that, the gold medal. All those things were wiped out in one night. And I think that his pride and ego should be really harping on him right now, deep inside, to say, I want that back. I think they have a rematch clause in the fight, so I think that's the fight that's going to happen next. But yes, I think that he should go right back and go back to how he began this journey, how he began with not a penny in his pocket, so to speak, and go back to training the way that you need to train to be the man that's training that way.
How big of a deal is it, you're of Mexican descent, how big of a deal is it for Andy Ruiz as the first Mexican heavyweight champion? How significant is that in the sport?
I think that too much is made of nationalities and of racism in this sport. I think the man, I think Mexico should be, which I am Mexican, I was born in Mexico, I think Mexico is the one that should be proud for Andy. Andy is proud that he's of Mexican descent. He was born in California, the U.S., but he considers him a Mexican American, just like I am a Mexican American. Our parents were Mexicans, so of course it's proud. It's proudful. It's an accomplishment that very few have done, as far as nobody at that weight, but another weight to have. So, and for him to be able to be hosted by the president of Mexico, all those things are important as a Mexican. But as a boxing coach and as a boxing man, I think that too much racism comes into this. He's a fighter that won a fight, that had a great amateur career. He beat another man inside the ring, and he won some belts. Now, hopefully, he can take care of his family from now on.
Moving away from all things heavyweights, your old charge, Gennady Golovkin, returned to the ring at Madison Square Garden this past weekend against Steve Rolls. What did you make of his performance?
I didn't see it. I was at the dinner with my wife, and I didn't see it. So I've read about it. People have told me about it. But we had a 9-year run. We had 23 knockouts in a row. We had 20 defenses of the middleweight title. He holds the KO record for middleweights and all-time middleweights. So I wouldn't doubt that he would have done just the same as we've done in the past. He's a very good fighter, and I'm sure that all the things that we've done, we're not going to be changed in 6 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever he had a training camp for this fight.
You mentioned the kind of list of accomplishments that you achieved alongside Gennady, becoming a middleweight great, really. Now that you're not together, I mean, it's a story kind of as old as time in boxing where all good things come to an end, or most parts. How do you look back on your time with Gennady? I know that the split has been, at times, somewhat acrimonious in the media. How do you look back at it now?
I look back at it as it benefited him and it benefited me. It benefited boxing. It benefited his family. It benefited mine. We go on, regardless of the reasons why this happened. That's something between he and I. But the fact is that we wouldn't be here without each other. Yes, I had a great career before him. I had Terry Norris, who's in the Hall of Fame now. But I'm associated with Gennady Golovkin, will always be associated with Gennady Golovkin, as I was with Terry Norris and all the other champions that I work with. But we wouldn't be sitting here, or he wouldn't be sitting doing the fight that he did if it hadn't have been for the teamwork that we had.
It's something that we've spoken about before. Gennady is now at the tail end of his career, I think it's fair to say. Do you think we ever got to see the true best of Gennady Golovkin? I mean, he had fights that fell through. He had champions who, for all intents and purposes, avoided fighting him. Do you think we ever really got to see the best of Gennady Golovkin in the ring?
You know, I don't think we ever get to see the best of anybody that's great like that because of that reason. Because some of the fights that should be made or should have been made are not. And because of that, the opportunities are not there for them to shine in the way that they should. When in the 80s, when we had Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, Duran, all those guys fought each other, so we were able to see the styles, the different styles. One guy could beat one guy but couldn't beat the other guy because of the style. So it's unfortunate for Gennady that we didn't get those fights, but we saw some greatness. So.
Okay, well, Abel Sanchez, always a pleasure sitting down and speaking to you. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Abel. That was great. Thank you.